The summit hall blazed with light. Cameras rolled. Dozens of global leaders sat tall at the long table underneath the glowing flags of the United Nations. This was no regular gathering. This was the Global Summit on Immigration and Human Dignity, streamed live across every corner of the earth. Then, President Donald Trump leaned into the microphone, his eyes narrowing, his voice razor-sharp. "We will start mass deportations immediately, and yes, that includes people from Africa. We must protect our borders. We must defend our culture." The words landed like cold steel. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Translators echoed his statement in French, Arabic, Swahili, and more. You could hear a pin drop. Several African representatives exchanged stiff glances. A Ghanaian woman quietly cupped her mouth. A Senegalese diplomat rose part way from his seat, then slowly sat down again. Some journalists gave awkward laughs. Others halted their typing mid-sentence. The unease jumped from the hall to the internet on social media. The moment exploded. Hashtag mass deportation, hashtag African Lives Matter began trending instantly. But at the very end of the chamber, one man didn't move. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, still, composed, eyes locked forward. He was about to speak. And the world wasn't ready. He didn't pound the table. He didn't raise a fist. Captain Traoré simply rose. Every camera in the room swung toward him. He adjusted the Burkina flag on his chest. His voice came low at first, but it carried like thunder. "Mr. Trump," he began, "your threats of deportation, they are racist. Let me tell you why." Gasps rippled across the room. Trump's face darkened, but Traoré didn't blink. "When your ancestors arrived by ship," he continued, "there were no threats of deportation. There was theft of land, enslavement of people, destruction of cultures. And now, after centuries, you speak of protecting your culture as if African people were a plague." The room went still again. "But our people, Mr. Trump, are not statistics. They are mothers who cleaned your hospitals, fathers who paved your streets, students who trained the very AI you brag about." Cameras zoomed in. A woman in the audience wiped her tears. On X, formerly Twitter, his words caught fire, spreading like wildfire. Trump muttered under his breath, but no one listened anymore. All eyes were fixed on Traoré. A journalist leaned in and whispered, "He just shifted the axis of the world." And somewhere in a modest house, a young African boy watching the broadcast squeezed his mother's hand and whispered, "That's my hero." Just as murmurs began to fill the room, Captain Traoré reached inside his jacket. Folded letter. His fingers trembled slightly. "Before I continue," he said gently, "I want to read something. A letter I received last week from a dying mother in Niger. Her son had just been deported from the United States. He died 2 days later. No medicine, no shelter, no family." He unfolded the letter. The room fell quiet again. A translator read it aloud. "They took my boy Ibrahim. They told him he was illegal, but he worked hard, sent money home. He dreamed of becoming a doctor. They put him on a cold plane. No one was there when he landed. Not even death waited kindly. He died at a bus stop, calling my name. Wasn't he there?" Traoré paused. His jaw tightened. His voice caught. "Several." Diplomats looked down, eyes glistening. "This summit," Traoré said, "cannot be about numbers. It must be about people, faces, names, children." Even some of Trump's allies turned their eyes away. A camera caught a single tear, rolling down Traoré's cheek. That image would circle the globe in minutes. He looked up from the letter. The hall stayed hushed. Even the reporters had stopped writing. "The boy's name," Traoré said, his voice thick, "was Sadu. He was 19. Trump leaned back, arms folded, face unreadable. "He wasn't a criminal," Traoré said. "A grocery store in the Bronx. He dreamed of studying agriculture so he could return to Niger and grow food for his village." His voice trembled slightly, but one night, immigration officers arrived. No warrant, no goodbye. They put him on a plane, dumped him in Miami with only $6 in his pocket. He glanced toward the cameras. 3 days later, he collapsed, heat and hunger. His mother found him outside a pharmacy, but he was already gone. Someone in the crowd gasped. Trump muttered something under his breath. You want to talk about protecting culture? Trey asked. What kind of culture deports children and lets them die like dogs on foreign soil? A journalist quietly sobbed. That's not immigration policy, Traoré said. That's cruelty disguised as power, across the globe. Millions watching the live stream began typing a single word into the comments section. Justice, suddenly. A voice. Broke the tension, not loud, just a whisper. But it carried. He's right, all heads turned. A European diplomat had spoken, face pale. Tro didn't respond. He simply stepped back and returned to his seat. Trump leaned forward, his voice echoing through the mic. We're protecting America, not playing social worker for failed governments. Some allies chuckled. Others sat stone-faced, then something no one expected. A woman in a dark green dress stood. The delegate from Sierra Leone. Her voice shook. Mr. Trump, she said, your people came to our shores centuries ago. Not with visas, but with guns and chains. You never asked us for permission. A few claps, but she wasn't finished. If we had deported them the way you deport our children now, perhaps our villages wouldn't be buried under centuries of pain. Even the U.S. ambassador looked uneasy. Cameras pivoted. Audiences worldwide leaned in. Something shifted. The crowd wasn't just listening to Trop anymore. They were remembering, reflecting, hurting. And in that silence, a movement began to breathe. When the summit broke for recess, Traub didn't go to the green room. He sat alone near the hallway exit. Staring into nothing, a journalist approached softly. Captain, may I ask, why did you take that risk? Why speak like that? He looked up, eyes heavy. Because I have a brother named Ishmael. He once tried to reach Europe. She leaned closer. Did he make it? Tro nodded slowly. He made it too. Libya. Then the boat sank. He couldn't swim. Silence again. Even off camera, his voice carried weight. Ishmael was kind. He braided our mother's hair. He loved mangoes. He was real, not just a statistic. He looked her in the eyes. When Trump says deport them all, he doesn't see faces. I do. She wiped away a tear. We're going back live in 10 minutes, she whispered. Are you ready? He stood slowly, adjusted his uniform. Ready? He echoed, then said something that would be replayed 1 billion times. No, but if I don't speak, who will? As the summit resumed, whispers swept the room. Traub returned to his seat, but his eyes locked onto the moderator. An American. Journalists with trembling hands, and something no one expected. A young woman in the control booth raised her hand. Mouthed, "Play the clip." Confusion rippled. Then the screen lit up. Body cam footage. A real U.S. immigration officer dragging a screaming African teen from his home in New Jersey. The boy cried, "Please, I go to school. I didn't do anything." His mother on the floor, sobbing, "He's my only child. Please." Then the door slammed. The summit room froze. Trump leaned forward, scowling. Who authorized this? No one replied. The moderator turned pale. This was leaked. This morning, a confidential source reported 2 weeks ago, the boy's name was Musa Diarra. Just 3 months earlier, he had received a national award for mathematics. Tro stood again, his voice steady yet unyielding. Is this what justice looks like? To you? No one responded. Around the globe, millions watching began to cry, and the word Iya Musa trended instantly on Twitter. During the break, Traoré stepped into the hallway to answer a call from his hometown in Burkina Faso. The voice of a village elder came through, trembling with emotion. Captain, are you safe? I am, Traoré answered quietly. We saw you, the elder whispered. The whole village was watching, even the children stopped playing football. Tro tried to smile. Tell them I'm doing what? I must. Then came the part that shook him to the core. We just learned he died trying to cross the desert to reach Tunisia. Breath caught. I didn't. No, he said softly. He had dreams, Ibrahim. He wanted to be like you. Now he's only a memory. Leaning against the wall, eyes closed, Traoré whispered, I promise you, elder, no more sons will be buried in the sand. The elder replied with strength, We believe in you. Speak for all of us. Just before the call ended, he added words that would stay with Traoré forever. "Your voice is the only border we have now." He back inside the room was thick with emotion. The world continued to watch. Suddenly, Trump stood up. "Why do you care, Captain? These kids aren't even your citizens." Trot turned toward him, calm and clear, because pain has no passport. Gasps rose again. Trump squinted. "You're defending criminals?" Trot didn't T-blink. "I'm defending humanity." "You think speeches will save the world?" Trump barked. "No," Traoré replied, "but silence will destroy it." Tro slowly reached into his coat and took out a folded photo. "This is my friend Kudu. He was deported last year after spending 10 years working in Michigan. He died trying to come back through the Sahara." He gently placed the photo on the table in front of Trump. "He paid taxes. He mentored students. He wore your flag with pride." Trump didn't touch the photo, and now, Tro said, his voice cracking, his mother prays beside an empty grave, because his body was never found. Some in the audience cried openly. Even a White House advisor turned away, then came. The line that would echo for days: "The desert took his bones, but I will not let the world forget his name." As the debate grew more heated, a woman in the audience raised her hand. She approached the podium slowly, holding a piece of paper. "This was left behind by a young African boy I treated before he was deported," she said. The hall fell silent. Cameras zoomed in. He was 17. Strata student. She unfolded the letter. Her voice shook as she read. "Dear America, I didn't steal. I didn't lie. I just wanted to breathe. But I guess you never saw me." Once again, the room fell into silence. He didn't make it to Burkina Faso. His body was found in the Sonoran desert. Wrapped in this same letter, the audience sobbed. The live stream chat exploded with broken heart emojis. A tall man in a military uniform quietly rose from the back row. Slowly, he walked toward the microphone as cameras turned. "I served 2 tours in Iraq," he said. "But today I'm not standing here as a soldier. I'm standing here as a father." Everyone leaned forward. 2 years ago, my son fell. In love with a girl from Guinea. Her name was Fatima. A photo appeared on the screen, her smile radiant and warm. She was undocumented, but she was kind, brilliant. She volunteered at shelters. Then his voice cracked. ICE raided her building. She was deported. We tried to find her eventually. Found her name on a list of drowning victims off the Libyan coast. But when my son weeps at night calling for Fatima, I ask myself, what exactly were we defending? The room fell into silence. Even Traoré looked visibly shaken. The soldier turned to him and whispered, Captain ... Don't stop. They're listening." And for the first time, Trump remained speechless because this pain came from within. As the final session of the summit approached, the moderator stepped up. "We've just received a video from a refugee camp in Burkina Faso." A hush spread across the hall. The screen glowed. A small boy around 9 appeared, sitting in front of a battered tent. His name was Alan. His clothes were torn, but his eyes held strength. "Hello," he said gently. "I don't know politics, but my big brother was deported. He used to sing me lullabies. Now I sleep alone." ***, he looked down, paused, then continued. "People call us poor, but we are not trash. Please stop sending people back to places where they die." Tears rolled across faces in the room. Even the translator broke for a moment. Alan looked into the camera once more. "Captain Traoré, I saw you on TV. You speak like my brother did. Please don't stop." The feed cut off. Traoré covered his mouth and turned away from the cameras. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The whole world was crying for him. Outside, something was stirring. A movement had begun. Thousands had gathered in Geneva. Africans, Americans, Europeans, migrants, 2 wearing torn clothes with one phrase, homeless, not worthless. They lifted photos of loved ones who died during deportations. Chants filled the air. "Justice for Gabriel. We are not illegal. Let Traoré speak." Inside, security tightened. Trump looked annoyed, muttering to an aide, "Let them yell. It'll pass." But Traoré heard, and it crushed him. Through the glass, he saw a mother kneeling, holding a child's shoe. She wasn't screaming, she was whispering. "This was my son's. They deported him. He never came back." The moderators tried steering the session back, but no one was paying attention. Something rare was happening. The world had stopped arguing. It had begun to feel outside dash. The storm wasn't made of rain. It was grief. Inside, Traoré lowered his head and quietly made a vow. Not one more name. Not one more grave. Then a security alarm rang out. A 12-year-old boy had broken past the barricades. He ran hard, unafraid, until guards caught him just short of the summit doors. Everyone turned. Traoré stood. "Let him speak," he said. "Bring him in." They hesitated but obeyed. His name was Bari, from Mali.
His English was broken, but his
message was whole. He raised a picture, a blurry photo of his father on a construction site in New York. He built homes. He didn't steal. He didn't harm. The image switched. Now, a simple casket. No flowers, just wood. They deported him. Then he turned to Traoré. "Thank you for saying what my father never could." The room erupted in applause. Cameras zoomed. Traoré's eyes were wet. He stepped forward, knelt, and embraced the boy. That image broke the internet. Millions stopped and cried. Later that evening, as the summit neared its close, a journalist ran onto the stage clutching a sealed UN document. "Captain Traoré," she called. "You need to see this." Security moved in, but he raised his hand. "Let her speak." She opened the envelope. Inside was a letter from a UN field officer stationed in Tunisia. And it revealed ... a classified report. Revealed that more than 800 African migrants had lost their lives over the past 8 months while attempting to re-enter Europe following their deportation. Many had been sent back without access to interpreters or medical assistance, and some were. Even representatives from Western countries appeared visibly disturbed. Why wasn't this revealed? Earlier, someone murmured. It was hidden, a journalist responded. Until now. Traoré began to read the report aloud, his voice heavy. He hesitated and choked up when he reached a list of victims' names. One stood out: Amunata T, just 11 years old. He had met her during a refugee visit to West Africa the year prior. She had braided his hair and told him, "I want to become a nurse." "She's gone now," he whispered. "But her name will be remembered." The room stood in silence. Outside, a chorus began. "Say her name." The summit moderator spoke gently, the final statement before the vote. Trump leaned in, his expression rigid. "Deportations will proceed with or without this summit's consent." Shocked gasps, flashes of cameras. Tension cracked through the room like thunder. Traoré rose slow, composed, intense. "Mr. Trump, do you even hear what you're saying?" He lifted a UN-certified report on unlawful deportations. Inside are names, birth records, baby photos. Not a single one of them committed a crime. He paused, then laid the report firmly on the podium. "I asked my team last night to reach their families. We managed to speak to 53 of them." He looked around. Want to know what they said? Silence. Why did no one care when our children were alive? The mood in the room turned somber. He added, "We can't keep labeling people as illegal and then act surprised when their deaths feel legal." A Kenyan ambassador clapped slowly, then faster. The applause caught like fire, spreading to homes across the world. People rose from couches, phones in hand, watching. One phrase surged across every app, every comment thread: "He's not just a soldier, he's a voice." As the clapping echoed, an aide rushed to the stage, handing Traoré a brown envelope handwritten and urgent. He opened it. Inside, a letter from a school in Bobo Dioulasso, crayon hearts, flags, and in the middle, a note in wobbly handwriting. "Dear Captain, thank you for defending us. My brother died in the sea, but now I know someone cares. I want to be like you." He held the note toward the cameras. "This is why I spoke. Not for politics, not for power, but for Fatimata, whom I may never meet. For her brother, who never came home. For every child waiting at a border, unsure whether hope will come or a wall. The crowd rose again. Journalists forgot to write. They defend them. And then something no one anticipated. A 4-minute standing ovation. No one sat. No one spoke. Only tears. All platforms were overrun with 3 names. Jibril, Aminata. Fatu Mata. Artists painted them. Singers composed songs. And for African cities renamed. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré, he returned to Burkina Faso quietly. No headlines, no fanfare, but waiting at the airport was Fatoumata. She ran into his arms, clutching the same drawing. "You've got my letter?" He knelt, tears in his eyes. "I did, and I'll carry it forever." If this story moved your heart, hit subscribe, and in the comments drop A if you believe no child should be deported to die. Let's make sure this. Thank you for watching.